welcome to AboutFACE Theatre presents 5 Questions With, and today's guest, playwright Neil Labute. Neil is one of America's foremost modern playwrights, whose works have been performed in the West End, on Broadway, and around the world. These plays include The Shape of Things, The Mercy Seat, The Way We Get By, the Olivier-nominated Fat Pig, and the Tony-nominated Reasons to Be Pretty. Neil's also a screenwriter and film director whose many films include In the Company of Men, Your Friends and Neighbours, and The Wicker Man. And he's also the creator of the TV series, Billy and Billie, Van Helsing, and The Island. Neil, you're very welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
So Neil, we're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to just jump right in. So what play or experience first got you into theater?
It was probably a combination of things. I didn't grow up in a world where theater felt very important, and maybe that's me being young, but it wasn't very prevalent. So therefore, it seemed as if perhaps it wasn't that important. I grew up in Spokane, Washington. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, but I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and a fairly blue collar world that I was in anyway. So there was some school plays, there was church plays, that kind of thing. I have an older brother, so eventually he took me to a couple of things, and one that was impressive to me. Since you asked, like, what was that thing? I can remember going to college with him, going to his college and seeing a production of King Lear when I was young. And so, if I think back now, it was probably, a 25-year-old guy playing King Lear in kabuki makeup, but at the time it was, quite startling. Just the way in which I was a big TV watcher and movie watcher. But up until then, I wasn't able to really get my hands on anything outside of, kind of pageants at school or church, and so just the idea of the storytelling, just going from place to place, but the physical, action of being, of gravity, of not being able to just cut and move 10 years into the future, but having to physically do it, was really a blast. And it was a unit set, as I recall, and so, but we went everywhere that King Lear does. I mean, they may have cut a few scenes, I don't know, at that point. But I had the sense of the scale, and yet the intimacy of that experience. And I was just sort of not overwhelmed, but just, really connected to that experience, that here we are all, I don't know anybody here, and I'm locked into this world. And it was a language that I didn't quite understand, but could understand. It was a fantastic, if not introduction, it was the one that kind of swept me away first, and made me say, I want to do something like that,
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, so then, so Shakespeare is an early influence, but what would you say, Neil, is...
that must be so weird and so unique, so maybe we should stop there.
Yeah. That rarely happens.
I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's actually quite good.
Yeah.
Not bad.
One of the minor English writers. Which speaking of influences...
Sadly, that's probably true. There's so many of them. He is just one of many, certainly.
Yeah, indeed. So what would be a great play that you love and why?
I have been asked this before, actually, in terms of like, what play do you love more than any other play? And that's always hard, but I have answered on a couple of occasions, and will as well here answer Uncle Vanya, because it's the one that immediately jumps to me. I'm so unique with Shakespeare and Chekhov. I fascinate myself. But it is definitely the one that in terms of being a viewer and having worked on it, I've directed it, I've adapted it. It's a play that has endless possibilities. It really introduced me, again, not introduced me, made me think maybe most about like offstage characters, which I've always loved, whether it's the son in Virginia Woolf, or it's Godot himself or herself, probably himself, knowing Beckett. He was kind of fussy about things like that.
Yeah.
Albie was too, though. I shouldn't let him off the hook. I am far less so, but I do love, like an offstage character or a secret or that kind of thing. So I directed the play a couple of years ago in Germany, of all places, which I don't speak German, but that apparently didn't stop me. The actors took it as a great chance to work on their English. They performed in German, but I knew the play well enough to really kind of follow along and direct them. And I mean, at some point you always give over, in the theater. That's the beauty, is as a film director, you can just keep stopping and nitpicking, and the actors are kind of like, oh my God, even at the best of times, I'm a racehorse. Let me do this thing. And on stage, you get that opportunity. You can just go, okay, now I can shut everything out and act. And so there's a point where you go, yeah, I have to believe. They could have been saying whatever. They could have been just laughing, saying that guy's an asshole over and over and over. And I would have been like, oh, Chekhov, you're so beautiful. I hope they weren't. Well, the audience did laugh probably more than usual, so that they might have been. But there was we really got deep into the idea of the professor's first wife. She's sort of brushed over early on. We hear about her, and then we don't hear that much more. And we got into, gosh, what was the connection between her and Astroff? And is that why he really doesn't have any interest in Sonia? Because she was, her mother's child. And there's so many things that those kind of characters are. The beauty is you get to fill in the blanks. It's the writer puts down everything they want to. Well, sometimes they keep putting stuff in, and sometimes you can't touch anything. But at its best, they let you kind of color within the lines, sometimes even slightly out of the lines. I don't even mind that myself as a writer, but it's just a play that has continued to, heap blessings on me as a reader and a viewer, and as I say, a practitioner. It's just been a play that, and I just think his language is beautiful, and his thoughts are beautiful, and he was sort of a prophet. Just prophetic thoughts about climate change, and too bad he didn't understand people. What a shame. I think that was, and out of the plays that I know of his, I think I've read everything or seen everything at some point, since there isn't a huge number of them. I would say Uncle Vanya is the one for me.
I think that's a pretty solid choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not changing the world, but it's maybe it did when it came around. It was at a time when they were changing the world anyway. Some of those writers were out there and writing Doll's House and Miss Julie and all kinds of wonderful plays.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your love for Uncle Vanya took you in places you didn't expect. Was there anything else in your theater life that turned out differently than you expected or anticipated it would?
Oh gosh, yeah, always. I think it almost always does. That's the beauty of theater, that because it's so ephemeral, so maddeningly, I can't hold it in my hand. There are those nights where it's like, oh, that was one for the books, and I wish I could show that to somebody. But then again, it's kind of special that nobody else but this little group, or this, even if it's 1,000 people, this 1,000 people, that's it in the world that saw it, or if it's a premiere, whether it's Ireland, or see how I include you like that, wherever it is in the world, it's like it's just that one little group in the dark together, and they're the only ones hearing these words tonight, and only seeing this performance done this particular way. It's that's why I think theater will probably just never go away, in some form, because it's so unique. TV and film a little closer in similarity in other art forms, and but it really is one that I think when you experience it, you whether you like it or not, I think even perhaps it is something happened. Howard Barker had a great poem about someone going to the theater and being dragged to the theater and going and being like, what is this stuff? And then kind of coming back again and going, what is this stuff? It's like realizing there's something there. I'm not sure I even know what it is, but it is something extraordinary happening. Now, of course, if it was a Howard Barker play, something extraordinary probably was a lot of wonderful, crazy, beautiful stuff. But it was a great poem. I forget the name of the poem, but it was one that I always thought was fantastic. It very aptly explained the singular experience of going to the theater.
Yeah. So okay. So Neil, so you're talking there about the ephemerality of theater. And you obviously, as you were talking about there a little bit, you've worked in, in film and TV and stuff in a major way, as well as in theater. But you still work in the theater as well. So what is it that keeps bringing you back to the theater? What is it that moves you? What's it that excites you about the theater?
Well, some of what I just explained, that quality, and I think also something that again is relatively unique to the experience is the chance to see a text invested by so many different minds during the course of your life. To see a couple of Hamlets, to see Sondheim's Company, done with a woman in the lead. I know that's been done in the last year or so. Things like, I haven't seen that yet. It was going to open on Broadway, and then we had this weird thing called COVID. Nobody else seems to. No, watch out for it, because it's tricky. It's not great. I don't care what people say. It's not great. I think that being able to like go several nights to the same show and see a kind of evolving liquid experience in front of you, but also the idea that I can see a text over the course of my life, whereas movies might get remade once, maybe twice in your lifetime, or the BBC at some point will be like, oh, you know what, Wuthering Heights, that sounds like, let's do that again, that sounds great, and so you see 15 versions of it. But most things, there's that one movie of it. There's The Godfather, and there's La Dolce Vita, and there's whatever there is. But I can go see a play a number of times and have a similar and yet vastly and profoundly different experience where I am in life and who is tackling the piece. So that's kind of magic. That's sort of like if you're going to get religious about theater, that's a miracle in a way that I can put my fingers on, as opposed to perhaps more religious ideas of miracles. I mean, the things like birth of a child, and I probably shouldn't compare the birth of a child to a play right now, or that would probably be great family-wise, but baby thing, so much more miraculous. But right down there in second place with the silver medal is a great production of Hamlet. So you'll probably never see this, so that's okay. I said she was first. So that's just an experience that I never grow tired of being in there and having the lights go down. I really don't care that much about the audience, frankly. How many people are around me. So I'll be great when we go back to the theater. If there's a lot of space around me, I'll be like, this is perfect. I'm the same way at the movies. Like, I don't care. I don't need that. Oh, I want to be, if I'm going to a horror movie, I need like a whole group of, like, stay home. I go Thursday night, so I can see it just by myself. I know when I like something. So but I do. I mean, there is a vibe that comes with having an audience in the theater, and certainly as a writer and director, I love having an audience there. But I'm not, that thrilled about having to cram into a theater and watch it with other people. But certainly do. But there's nothing quite like the experience of the lights coming up and watching a show. It's pretty magical.
Mm-hmm. So in your experience of theater, are there any tools of theater or things that you've learned or used in theater that you have found useful in the rest of your life, your outside theater life?
No.
Good, excellent.
Okay. No, great. Of course, I think when done well, for me, I love the process. I love the product, but I love the process of doing it. And so that collaboration is hugely significant and important in life. To really, I think, to really enjoy life at its best, fullest. It's a collaborative experience. I'm not, even though I say, I like to have a theater, by itself, in terms of the making of theater and the living of life. having people that you know that stuff is worth doing it for, and showing to them, and living with them and experiencing other things. It's so that I think it directly applies from working in theater. I'm not someone who's like, okay, great, just stand back and let me do my magic. It's, you know, you hire good people who also are magical and you know are in this thing together with you. And I've had experiences, very few, luckily, where the process was not nearly as good as I hoped, and the product was still okay. You know, people were like, "Oh, I like the show." I still had a sense of, oh, that, you know, I would put that in the negative column. I put that, you know, as one that wasn't great because it just didn't click on all cylinders with the people you were collaborating with, whether it was the director or actors or. But as I say, it's been only a couple, but they really stand out, and I really, you know, hated those experiences comparatively because they just they didn't give me that same thrill of going to rehearsal every day and working with a group and, you know, may the best idea win. You know, that is a direct line that I've said to people and in life as well. It's like, you know, please have a better idea than me. I dare you, but every so often somebody, you know, comes through and whacks it out of the park, and you're like, damn, never thought of that. So let's use it, and I'll pretend it's mine. No, I don't. Not always pretend it's mine, but that's the fun of what we do, is that we, you know, certainly as a writer, you know, you're so isolated often. I mean, at least for me, I'm not one who goes to Starbucks or to a restaurant and you know, and writes. I'm usually a little more isolated, so it's great to get out of the house and, you know, be around people and grow this thing together. And it also it grows in a way that I understand. Movies and TV are shot, I mean, really for economics. You know, it's all about, can we save a few pennies? And if that means that these people have to do their love scene the very first day they meet, so be it, because we're saving, you know, €1 or €2. I did that for you.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, my pleasure. So that, you know, that's not necessarily the best way to work. You can still do it, and people create great things that way. But, you know, the way in which everybody is planting the same garden from the beginning to end in the theater just makes complete sense to me. And, you know, certainly if you talk to other, you know, filmmakers or people who work in TV, you know, if you say, hey, what if you could have your preference, would you shoot this in continuity? I mean, who wouldn't think that that's the best way to do it? Say, oh, you mean do my character from beginning to end like I do in stage? Of course. But that's just not the way it usually works in the other mediums. And I find it a little crazy making, but it's, you know, it is the kind of prescribed method for getting things done these days. Or it probably has been for 100 years. So I like that collaboration. I don't like to talk much, as you can tell, but there's no time left for them to collaborate by the time I've shut up.
Perfect.
I did create a moment where they could have talked if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Well, Neil, we love hearing you talking. So this has been great. So just as a bonus question, can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
I've tried to stay active. And it's funny, it feels like being 20 again. And I know I look like 25 or 26, so it's not obviously the same, but I feel like I'm back to that place where I'm working because I love it. And I think I'm that way a lot of the time. I write because I love it. You know, there's a lot of times where I don't have a home for things. Sometimes I do have homes for things. But right now it feels a lot like I have an idea, I'm inspired, and I write something. I don't know if it's going to get on stage or not, or when will that be, or can I make a movie out of it? I'm doing it because I like the process of writing. And so I've been working on a couple of different things. I did one play that was kind of interesting was I took characters. In fact, it was an Irishman who inspired me. I read a Brian Friel play, Afterplay, where he took 2 characters from Chekhov. See how I'm rounding this whole thing out? I'm actually kind of stunning myself that I'm doing it as well as usually it's not this good. Keep it short, and it'll be way better. I read that play, and I was like, oh, what a fun thing. And so I went and at one point I sort of created this trilogy of The Shape of Things, Fat Pig, and Reasons to Be Pretty. And I since went back and wrote 2 more plays in that Reasons to Be Pretty world. But that original trilogy, I said, wouldn't it be interesting to see the 3 protagonists from those plays meet? And how would I go about doing that? And so I ended up putting the 3 guys from those plays, Adam and Tom and Greg, together with a new character. And so that's a play that I've finished. It's called The End Has No End. And a couple of other things that are more for film and TV, but I'm trying to stay active in those few minutes I have when I'm not changing diapers or playing with little figurines or things like that. But I think it's important because it gets, it's hard being breaking whatever routine you've had, and I think COVID has done a lot of that for people. It's just, changed the way in which they're able to operate, for better and worse. But it has been, unless you already worked from home, it's been hard in that sense. I've probably, the last time I watched The Shining, I looked at it a little more longingly than I ever have. I was like, gosh, such a nice hotel. So what is he complaining about? Why is he so antsy? So that should send up a signal flare that you need to get out more. So I'm trying to get out more these days, and I can't wait. We've got a lot of snow. I'm in New York, and I'm looking forward to the spring.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Neil, thank you so much for
Enough
joining
about
us.
me. What about you guys?
No. But we really appreciate it. It's been lovely to hear your answers to these questions, and it's always inspiring for us. So we really appreciate
Thank you very much.
Time. And a huge thank you to our audience too for joining us. And if you like what you see, please do press the like button below, and also we'll see you next time on AboutFACE Theater presents 5 Questions With. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and share. Thanks for watching.